Hello and welcome to this edition of Entertainment Extra with yours truly, Joe Crawford. We are doing show number 7, lucky 7, count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's exciting. And every show I do, I'm so excited because I get to talk with all of you. And all of you can have a chance to be lucky, like the lucky number 7, to win $500. And how do you do that, you can ask? Well, by referring a whole bunch of friends here to remictv.com, and we'll enter your name in a draw if you invite the most friends, and you can win $500 and keep it up. And when the contest ends, we'll let you know. And the last month you can win $10,000. A lot of money to give away. I'm excited that you could be the next winner. Now, joining us on today's show, talking about lucky, is an author, Nancy Rossman, who wrote a book about lucky love. And we're not going to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about it when she joins us on the show. And with that, I want to say that I want you to be lucky because you can have your questions read on air next week when we tape with Gilbert Gottfried. That's right, comedian, actor, author, controversy actor and author too. Gilbert Gottfried is going to be joining us here on remictv.com on Entertainment Extra, and you can ask him a question. All you got to do is just go to joecrawfordlive.com, click on my email icon there, and send off a question, subject line, asking Gilbert, and you can have your questions read on air. You can also go to our Facebook page. I have my Facebook and my Twitter, and I also made the Joe Crawford Talk Show page there for Entertainment Extra. Join us, like us, and you can interact us there, because even though when I'm not on air, I'm interacting all the time on Facebook and Twitter all the time, and you can be interacting with us too. A woman who called the wrong number when she suffered a stroke still found help a couple of time zones away. 70-year-old Smith, who lives in Akron, Ohio, was able to grab the phone and thought she was calling her son. She was one digit off, however, and ended up calling a man in the Denver area. The man got her info, called 911, and had an ambulance sent to her house. The gentleman said, "I didn't save her. She just happened to find me." And sure, when she rewards you, you didn't find the wallet. The money just happened to find you too, right? Super Bowl happened. How about this to serve for your next Super Bowl party in 2013? Or even, 2013. We're in 2012 already. Holy cow. Time flies by. How about some tuna nachos for your Super Bowl party? It's one of the recipes from Women Serving Time in Texas. 6 female convicts have compiled an unusual cookbook from the big house to your house. One of the recipes is for our tuna nachos. Inmate Celeste Johnson says it sounds disgusting, but it grows on you. Yeah, probably when you eat it, all grows out of you too. Prison cooking isn't easy. The women don't have access to a stove, a refrigerator, or a knife. Anything that needs heating must be done in a hot pot, which warms water, but not to the boiling point. After all, boiling water could be used as a weapon against a guard or another inmate. And to tell you the truth, that sounds like how my girlfriend cooks anyways. I'm joking, sweetheart, if you're watching this. I'm joking. We have your fact of the day here on Entertainment Extra with yours truly. And I found this to be a real interesting fact because we are based in Canada and we're showcasing Canada worldwide on remictv.com with all our shows here. But Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world combined. That's a lot of lakes. Listen to this. Canada doesn't just have a ton of lakes. It has huge lakes. Nearly 9% of Canada's total area is covered by fresh water. There are over 550 lakes with the surface area over 100 kilometers. And over 31,000 lakes are larger than 3 square kilometers. I know right now you're trying to figure out the math in your head. That is a lot. A huge lakes in Canada, more than the world combined. And we are so lucky. If you live in Canada, I know I live here in Canada, and all our hosts here on Remake TV lives in Canada. We are very lucky to be brought up living in such a great country. Oh, Canada. But coming from the States, because I don't want to offend any of our American viewers, you guys are great too. And coming from the States, our next guest, Nancy Rossman, will be joining us on the show. And she has self-published her own book, First Love, Last Dance. It's a true love story you don't want to miss here on Entertainment Extra with Joe Crawford on RemixTV.com. Welcome back to Entertainment Extra with yours truly, Joe Crawford. And just before we took a little break there, we said that we had Nancy Rossman joining us on the show. And Nancy, I had to say, first of all, welcome to the show, Nancy. How are you?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day in Arizona today.
Oh, nice. Okay, Arizona. It's got to be hot. Isn't it hot in Arizona?
No, July, August, September, it's a pizza oven. But the rest of the time, it's really great.
Oh,
wonderful.
Nice. Well, actually in Canada for us, where we are in Toronto area, it's going to be 49 today. So, you know what? It's going to be actually a nice winter day, we can call it. It's actually spring. You can wear shorts. Now, you don't know this, Nancy, but I'm going to let you know. We are on our 7th show, and it kind of is very lucky because Lucky 7, everyone associates with Lucky 7, but you wrote a book that's kind of a lot about luck, too, and love. And what is the name of your book?
First Love, Last Dance.
First Love, Last Dance, and let's just see a copy of that book first of all, Nancy. And that book is available where?
This book is available by order at any fine bookstore, but you can get it most easily on Amazon.com in hardcover, paperback, or Kindle format.
Okay, now First Love, Last Dance. Without giving the whole book away, because that's what we want people to do, is buy the book and read it. What is the book about?
It is a true story about my mother, Elise, who fell in love for the first time when she was 19. Peter was his name. She became engaged to him at 21, but she didn't marry him until she was 75.
Wow. Now, was the engagement that long, or did something happen?
Something happened. Her mother did not like Peter. She thought he liked to dance, and he had his own car, and so he would love to my mother up and take her places unchaperoned. My grandmother didn't like that. And she was a Presbyterian. She didn't like dancing. She was into that belief at that point in time that dancing was nothing more than a vertical position for a horizontal desire.
That's a great way to put it there. That's back in the olden days too now, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, we're talking a time period here of 1940, the late 30s and the early 40s. And my grandmother was just a very staunch Southern woman, and my mother was the youngest child, and my mother, I think, thought, because she was so close to her mother, that eventually my grandmother would relent and see the good parts of Peter. But, you know, she never did. And so eventually my mother kind of gave up hope and broke up with Peter, gave him back the engagement ring, and soon after that she met my father, who was a Navy pilot and stationed in on a base near Atlanta. And my mother just happened to meet him.
And Grandma approved, I take it then, right?
Emma did, which is shocking, isn't it? I mean, she'd prefer a Yankee over a Southerner. You know, this is, at the time, this was kind of also a no-no. But my dad was very conservative, and he didn't dance. And, you know, those handsome guys in their officer uniforms in those days, very taken. So she approved of him, and off my mother went, being a privileged Southern girl, ending up in Ohio, and eventually at the end of the war actually on a farm. That's where I grew up, on a big dairy farm.
Oh, wow. Nancy Rossman, the author of First Love, Last Dance, talking about her book that she wrote, which is a true love story and an amazing love story to tell. Now, I understand about the mother not approving the dates, because my mother, I'm an only child, and there's many dates that she hasn't approved me on. And have you gone through that growing up, that your mother haven't approved on any of your dates, or was your husband?
Oh, yeah, she did. And I was one of those girls that was always attracted to the boys. And I'm not saying Peter was a bad boy. He wasn't, but yeah, I'm with you. I told many of the guys I dated, and I'm on my third husband. She finally likes this one, so that's good.
Well, very good. Now, I know it's probably in your book, but how, like, 70 years old? Now, I'm assuming, did she marry Peter at 70?
She married Peter at 75, correct.
Wow. So how like, okay, they go on their own separate ways. I'm assuming Peter gets married. He has his own life, and of course your mother did the same thing. How did they reconnect after so many years?
Well, the interesting thing, when I was writing this book, the woman, Dorothy Allison, who's a fabulous writer and teacher, she mentored me, and she was the one who encouraged me to write this book. She thought it was such a great story, because I told her that this wasn't a story that I just learned. You know how you grow up as a kid and you find out all these things about your parents much later in life. Mine was not that way. I knew about him from the time I was 10 years old, because he started calling our house through their mutual friends in Atlanta. They knew about each other, and he got my mother's phone number in Ohio, and he would call every year on my mother's birthday just to wish her a happy birthday. And my dad was not jealous. My dad was a big teaser. And once this behavior started, my dad would sit down on my mother's birthday, come in early from the barn, whatever, sit down at the dinner table and start watching the clock. And he'd go, oh, it's 6 o'clock. At least he hasn't called yet. I don't think the guy's going to call this year. And he'd tell all of us, okay, kids, let's listen to your mother talk to her old boyfriend. You know, if something happens to me, he'll be your dad. So, you know, these phone calls continued every year, and I was oldest child. I was kind of a nosy kid, always getting into my mother's stuff. And every year after her birthday, when this guy would call, I'd ask my mother a million questions, and she was never forthcoming. So Peter would call every year on her birthday and wish her well, and my dad would just tease my mother and make fun, and he, as soon as the phone would ring and we'd realize it was Peter calling for my mother, my dad would say, okay, kids, let's listen to your mother talk to her old boyfriend. You know, if something happens to me, he could be your dad. And we laughed about that. We didn't really think seriously about it, but it made me very curious about this guy. And these phone calls continued every year religiously until my mother's 40th birthday, and then that was the last time he called.
What made him stop?
I asked him that when I was writing the book. They were both, my mother and Peter were both very excited about me writing this, and they were very forthcoming and helpful with information. When I asked him that, he said at some point you just have to go forward. And at some point, it's not nostalgic, it's just sad. And that's how he felt.
Oh.
And he said it kind of tore him up. It didn't make him feel good. It made him feel regretful.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, now, Mom and Peter are married at age 75, and the golden question to ask is, are they still married and together?
They were married 16 years until Peter passed away 6 months ago.
Now
they had 16 years together.
Wow. Well, that's good. At least they got more than an average marriage, maybe probably that would last, and they got to be together. So now, with you writing this book, First Love, Last Dance, you've done something that probably many authors don't do, but you self-published a book, correct?
Right.
What made you self-publish this and not actually go through a publishing company?
I really wanted an agent and to go the traditional route, and after I finished writing the book, which took 5 years, and there had been a fair amount of interest from various agents, but when I finished and queried them, outlining the scope of the book and so on, they thought, well, the most common criticisms or reasons for rejection were that it was an intriguing story and sweet, but I wasn't famous. Neither my mother or Peter were famous. There was no illicit subject matter, and it had a happy ending. And they said, we just don't think it'll sell that well. So I really had taken on this whole thing as a tribute to my mother. Certainly, because it was my first book, it was a process for me to learn how to write the book and everything that was involved. But the underlying reason was always the tribute to my mother, because of just the kind of person she is, very positive and never regretting any decisions and so on. Anyway, I had wanted in my mind to give it to her on her 90th birthday, and I ran out of time, frankly. It was just, there was no time left, and my husband said, listen, just self-publish and set up a website. So many people have been interested, and see what happens. So that's what I did, and I was getting some good media attention, but NBC in Atlanta really grabbed onto the story and featured it Valentine's Day. No, just before Valentine's Day in 2010. And then picked it up and ran it nationally for their featured Valentine's Day story. And then everything became very different for me, everything. As far as the book sales and getting readings and speakings, I've been teaching memoir writing classes, all that. So it's been an experience, but without that media attention that came first through NBC in Atlanta, and the attention came because NBC in Atlanta did a video interview of Elise and Peter, and it is hysterical, Joe. I mean, we posted it on my website, we put it on YouTube, we've used it all. I use it every time I read, if I can. And they just answered questions very funny. Older people are a lot like little kids. They just say what's on their mind. And I was a little surprised that NBC and that CNN aired it exactly the way the interview was done. It's about a 3.5-minute video. And I think because of that, as well as just the attention, how cute and funny the interview is, that really has done everything for me to promote the book.
Awesome. Nancy Rossman, the author of First Love, Last Dance. What's your website, Nancy?
www.firstlovelastdance.com.
All right, and let's see that book. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Did you want to see it again?
Yeah, we want to see it again there, First Love, Last Dance, and that can be bought on Amazon.com, or you can go to the website, firstlovelastdance.com. And Nancy, I want to thank you very much. You're also on Facebook. People can follow you, correct?
Yes, I post every day. I have over 3,000 fans on First Love, Last Dance Facebook.
Beautiful, and we look forward on airing this on RemixTV.com on Entertainment Extra. So thank you very much, Nancy, for taking your time to be with us here on our show.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks, and have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's Nancy Rossman there, and I want to thank her very much for being with us here on Entertainment Extra. We have your Entertainment Extra word of the day, and that word is doyen. Doyen. Doyen is a noun. It's a woman who is the senior member of a group, class, or profession. So there you go. There's your Entertainment Extra word of the day. Again, thanks to Nancy Rossman, a great true love story of First Love, Last Dance. And for Entertainment Extra on RemixTV.com, I'm Joe Crawford. Thank you, and keep on watching all the shows here on RemixTV.com.